Back working on the South Bend Heavy 10 restoration today, and today I'm going to attempt to weld the cast iron belt tensioning hammer back together. I will preface this with by saying I have no idea what I'm doing. I've read some stuff online. I'd like to preheat the metal and then sting it, and I got a bucket of sand to let it cool slowly. If it breaks or doesn't hold, I won't be too upset. I figured that I can just find a new one on eBay. This is more of a learning experience than anything. So I'm going to jump into it now, and just to clarify, this is for this shaft here, which rotates the cradle, which rotates and lets the cradle go up and down to tension the belt that goes into the headstock. Why it originally broke is the previous owner dropped it, the lathe rolled forward, and it broke the handle off, and it went that way. They brazed it. I got all the brass off, so we'll give it a shot now. I forgot to turn the shielding gas on. These are miserable looking welds. Okay, despite my failure to turn the gas on, I think we're off to a good start. So I'll probably sting it a little bit at a time, keeping the heat on it, and then put it in the bucket of sand and let it cool for a few hours. You can tell my welder does not like cold. Alright, now I'm going to let that cool for a little while. No good deed goes unpunished. The weld looks great, feels pretty strong, but I welded it on backwards. So, take two, and this time with the shielding gas on the entire time. Alright, since welding it on backwards, I've taken it off, flipped it around, and welded the first side. I cooled it in sand for a few hours, and it actually feels like the weld is pretty strong. I gave it a slight bend test. Also did a test fit on the lathe. Everything checks out there. So now I'm just going to sting the backside together. As you can see, I put a pretty big bevel in there, and I just cleaned it up with the wire brush. A flat piece of aluminum plate, pinching it against the table and protecting the machine surface just so there's no spatter. As you can see, there's sand all over the place. So I'm going to do one more preheat and a little bit more welding, and then we'll call it good. All right, welded the handle back together the right way. And at the same time with installation, I put the motor mount in along with the electric motor. This is the belt it came with. It's not a V-belt, but basically a V-belt. I don't think that's correct, so I'll have to do some research. But pretty pleased with how the cast iron welding turned out. I've never done doing it. I'm rapping on it a little bit. It's plenty strong for what this is needed for. And the intention of this lever is tensioned, so the headstock will spin. And at the same time, when this is over, it blocks the door from opening, so you can't get your hands in there while the belt's running. And then to untension it, you flip it back, at which point you can open the door. I also threw the gearbox on, didn't put the lead screw in. With winter coming, there's a lot of shuffling in and out of the garage, so I wanted to put as many pieces back on as possible so I don't lose anything and it all stays safe. And I'll do some more detailed restorative work in the spring of disassembling and cleaning, but I think I'm going to buy a disconnect belt, and so I can take it on and off before I do a permanent join, just to do some more testing, throw a dial indicator on there, make some chips, just make sure everything is working as expected.